Welcome to Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan, training you to lead with courage.
Hello, everyone. We are so happy to have you all here. We love to train you to be a courageous leader. You heard from me about how the Lord helped me to be a courageous leader under bad circumstances, how to rebuild my life in America, and how to encourage others to do the same. But our podcast is also based on bringing courageous leaders that are an example to all of us about how they started, how they move in their leadership position in every stage of life. And one of the courageous leaders that I consider, and she's my friend, is Sarah Stonestreet. She is the co-host of the Strong Women podcast and the Cohort director of the Colorado Spring Colson Fellows. Welcome to our podcast. Sarah, would you introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Sarah Stonestreet, like you said, and I just have to say before I say anything else how honored I am, Virginia, to be talking with you because you're one of my heroes. I just respect you so much. So I appreciate you letting me come on your podcast and chat with you. But yeah, I'm Sarah Stonestreet. My husband is John Stonestreet. He leads the Colson Center and the Colson Center for Christian Worldview. I have 4 children, 3 daughters, 16, 14, and 12, and then a little surprise attack son who is 4. So is that kind of what you want me to introduce about myself?
Yeah, that's fine. I have 2 girls, and there is just 1 year and a half difference, and then I have a son 10 years difference from the girl.
Oh, so you've got a big gap too.
Yes. So
yeah.
I just want our audience to hear a little bit about how you started this journey on leadership, because to me, leadership is not necessary that you have a title, you have an office, you have a title, and you boss people around. That's not leadership. You can be a leader, changing diapers, singing to your child, attending to PTA meetings and everything, doing a podcast, taking care of elderly people in so many ways. So tell us how you started and when you realized I have to take a leadership position. That's what I was created for.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about that. I think, early on in becoming a mother, well, let me back up and just say, I feel like a human temptation is to want to do great and big things that change the world and that everybody notices. And so I love that you say leadership can even be just changing diapers faithfully for the Lord, because I feel like that has really been my journey, is learning to have eyes to see the world around me and with all its beauty and brokenness, and learning how to love as God loves in this moment that He has placed me in the sphere of influence I've been placed in, whether big or small, and just doing that next good thing in front of me that I feel His prodding on. And so sometimes nobody knows that's happening. And it is the small things, but it's the small things that are living faithfully in His, there's a prayer in the prayer book that says that it's basically praying, may we delight in your will and walk in your ways. And that's my prayer. And so I think I would encourage your listeners to think, what is your sphere of influence? What are you already responsible for? And how can you be more intentional in that sphere of influence? And that's the question I ask myself all the time. And I guess leading into how I started the podcast was just kind of like, so I run a podcast called the Strong Women Podcast, which is how Virginia and I became friends, because we had her on, because I feel like, Virginia, you are the epitome of a strong woman. You walked faithfully with the Lord no matter the cost, and I just so appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Do you want me to tell how the podcast came to be, or
Yes. Yeah.
do you want to go a different direction?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you want.
So back in 2017, I was watching the news about the Women's March, and it was so disheartening, because it was basically, it felt like this attitude from these women that was like middle finger to the chauvinistic men. Like, they're the problem, you know? And I thought, whoa, that is not the picture of femininity that I want my girls to live into. And so there is kind of this undercurrent of a message that says, to be a strong woman, you need to be better than a man. You don't need men, and pursue your own happiness no matter the casualties, basically. That's kind of like the undercurrent that you'll hear from several different places. And I wanted to say that's not the right picture. But then sometimes on the flip side, Christians will go straight to, like when we're talking about women, we go straight to roles. Like, here is where you stay, you, like, kind of like a little box or definition, when I think we should go straight to design and talk about being made in the image of God first, before we talk about what are we called to in where God has placed us. And so anyway, I thought, well, let's talk about stories of women who are doing this. And what Erin and I, so my co-host is Erin Kunkel, and we have the best time. She's one of my dearest friends and a very strong woman in my life, which is why I asked her to help me with this project, because I thought, well, she is one of the strongest women in my life, so I appreciate her. So anyway, what we're trying to do is just offer a picture to spark the imagination. You know, oh, look what Virginia has done in her life. Look how God has led her into these different situations and shown himself faithful in those hard times. And or, you know, we've had Johnny Erickson Tata on, and same thing, you know, look, this is a different situation than Virginia's, but look how God is faithful.
Mhm. It is so important what you said. You're able to see something. You realize that it's not right. It's not according to God's will, and you thought about there is a need for change.
Mm-hmm.
And for many people that read my memoir, Saving My Assassin, or will
Mm-hmm.
read Saving My Assassin, I said, and I'm glad that you said that, God started in my life when I was 6 years old with the
Mm-hmm.
question. My parents and my relatives were fearful. I noticed that they were fearful outside. They were whispering inside of the home how the socialist government was taking their rights and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed some of my relatives' lawyers knew everything, but they were too afraid to talk. And inside of me, as a young kid, a fire was burning, saying, I need to find out why these people are fearful and how to find the truth and speak up for the truth. So I went
Mm-hmm.
to law school. People that will read Saving My Assassin, my memoir, will discover more. Yes, I believe that every person needs to think about, pay attention. To me, is like I'm telling everyone, pay attention when you see something and you say, "Oh, this needs to be changed. Oh, this
Yeah.
is not right. This should be done this way." It might be your mission. it might be
Yes.
what you are created for. And also, I want to share that when I started my mission, yes, it was a fire. Yes, at that time I didn't know the Lord and I thought that it was my desire. But later on, I discovered that it was His desire. God will provide for you step by step. The only thing is you have to put your faith in action, start acting in
Right.
faith, and God will provide for you. Share with
Mm-hmm.
us one or two examples of how God provided for you.
Okay. Um, well, it's kind of one of those things where you look back on your life and you realize, oh God, like you can see it in hindsight a little bit better and more clearly than when you're right there in the moment. But I had wonderful parents. They're still alive, and I'm grateful for that. They displayed faith at such a genuine level for me. I mean, they just love the Lord so much, and it was just it. It wasn't just a side note to them; it was their life, walking with Christ. And and I just had a wonderful relationship with them, and still do. And I think that's God's powerful way of displaying His tender care for me, even from an early age. And I know your story is totally different than my story in that regard. And He displayed His tender, loving mercy to you in a different way. But I really see that as a huge grace to me, and really part of His displaying Himself, God displaying Himself to me, is through my parents. And is that answering your question?
Yes, I believe so. And I think I imagine people listening saying, oh my gosh, I have such a big responsibility. I have
Yeah.
kids. And when I act, I honor God or not. And they
Yeah.
will do the same thing, not what I said or how I act. But you have 4 kids at the age
Mhm.
that you
Mhm.
explained, and you are the co-host of a post, a podcast, and with your husband, you do, the ministry. What would you say to a mother in your position? They will say, I don't have what she has. Or maybe will say, well, I don't have the parents that she had.
Mhm.
Maybe I will do later. How would you encourage and say, no, this is the time right now. You can do it
Mhm.
and you can start it while you have your kids at home.
Mhm. Good question. Well, I think of Acts 17:26 when Paul is talking to the Athenians, and he basically says that our time is marked out, and the boundaries of our dwelling place are marked out. And then, back to Psalm 139, where the psalmist is talking about how you knit me in my mother's womb. And our friend Kathy Cook, who's also been on our podcast, she says, knitting is a very precise skill. Like, you have to have a pattern in mind. You have to know what you're doing if you're knitting. Otherwise, you just come out with like a mitten glove scarf thing that doesn't make any sense. But the fact that God knit us in our mother's womb means that your story is going to look different than my story. The way He's gifted you to reflect His glory is going to look different than the way He's gifted me to reflect His glory. And so I would say, don't compare yourself, which is what especially we as women tend to do. Don't compare yourself, but think, how can I be friends with people who have different giftings? Because you get the giftings together, you get different personalities and different loves and different longings, different ways to impact the world around you. And you get that together, and it's like a force. So I would say, don't compare yourself. But I would also say that where you are is intentional. Like, it's not an accident that you're in this cultural moment. Even with all of its brokenness, it also has beauty. And it's not an accident if you are a young mother. That's intentional, and that is part of a very the very heart of, really, for a time, your sphere of influence. And so don't jump over it. I think that's a tendency of young mothers, and I feel it tugging on my heart sometimes too, and I have to go, oh wait, I'm doing it again. But we want to jump over the small things in our life, or the seemingly small things. We want to jump over the people that we're responsible for, and we want to, like, where can I make the biggest difference? And it's like, I did this during COVID. Actually, I was very convicted because, COVID hit, the world shuts down, and I start feeling anxious, like, okay, who can I serve? Who can I serve? And I'm praying to God, who can I serve? Who needs me? And I felt very convicted because he's like, how about the people I've already put in your house with you that are locked down with you? Like, how about you start there? And so anyway, but I think like I said a minute ago, taking inventory of who are you already responsible for. Is it those little babies? Maybe for a time it's little people, that it does feel very demanding with little people, and changing diapers and making snacks, and then, oh, again, we have to make a meal, but think about offering that up as your way of bringing the kingdom, God's kingdom, to earth in your little plot of land that's already been determined. Your boundaries have been determined, and your time has been determined, and it's not a mistake that you are where you are.
That is so true. I sometimes or many times I receive compliments from people all over the world. They will say, "Oh, Virginia, you have a great platform. You speak in so many places. So many people know you and everything." And I'm grateful. It's true. But I also tell them, "Do you know where the platform started? It started a
Mhm.
long time ago in a law office in Romania. After
Mhm.
clients, churches will come to me and say, please take our case. Nobody else will take the case. And I will be praying in my office after they left. And many times I will be crying. I said, Lord, if I take this case, are they going to kill me? Are they going to take
Yeah.
my kids from me? And in obedience, I listen to him. So
Mhm.
don't be discouraged by
Mhm.
the appointments that God is giving you that nobody knows about, because it's a
Mhm.
great training of your relationship with God. You will hear him in a way that you will not hear because people applaud you on the stage. It will
Mhm.
be a relationship that will be so strong. Not applauding of people of the stage will take you away from God. So it's very,
Right.
very important, this. So
Mm.
I really appreciate what you said, because I believe that it's important. It's important. Tell
Mhm.
us how you
Mhm.
manage your marital relationship with working together with your husband, because for
Mhm.
some women it's a problem, for others it's not. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am so grateful for John. That's my husband. He's one of those guys that loves to see other people shine at what they're good at. And I think that's unique in leadership, because I've watched him lead people, and I've just I just smile because he'll go, I think you could really do this well, and he'll give people platforms, or opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have even thought of for themselves. And so I appreciate the way he sees people and values, and doesn't feel threatened by other people's giftings when maybe he doesn't have them. And um so I want to say that, and I feel like because of his posture towards that, it makes it very easy to work together. And we work kind of, I mean, we both love the Colson Center for Christian Worldview. That's what he directs. But we don't actually bump into each other as far as working on the same project, so that's probably helpful. But he loves our podcast and he tells people about it all the time, which means so much to me. And so yeah, we don't have any issues in that, but I think there's some it's been very encouraging to me that John really has pulled out strengths that I didn't know I had. And so I'm grateful for that.
It's truly a blessing to have a
It
supportive
is.
husband. And I
Mhm.
really read some of his articles on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So creative. And I share them because I think everybody should read them. But I just wanted to thank you so very much, Sarah, for coming here to our podcast and sharing your so precious values with our listeners and our viewers. And we hope to invite you again, and we'll talk more about several other things that you accomplished in your journey. Until that time, I just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Virginia. It's just a delight to spend time with you anytime I can. I just have so much respect for you.
Thank you so much.
If you want to know more about Virginia Prodan, her coaching program, buy her book, Saving My Assassin, or invite Virginia to speak at your events, visit virginiaprodanbooks.com.